ahead and diffuse those learning targets that are listed. Okay, so the activity is having you look specifically at 3 types of practice, but it's stuff that we already mentioned earlier. Again, we're going to be looking at persuasive appeals, and you will present some oral evidence to debate a specific issue or topic with. All right, now what we're going to take a look at are the persuasive appeals that you learned about in 7th grade. If you did Springboard 7th grade year, you definitely learned about these 3. So this is just going to be a review of it. If you've got a highlighter, pull it out because we are going to be making some highlighted marks. We're going to look at each definition of each appeal, and I'm going to present to you examples of each appeal as well. So the first type of appeal that folks will use to convince you is something called a logos appeal. Logos is when you're trying to persuade someone based on reasoning and evidence. Another way to look at logos is to consider it as a series of facts, something that cannot be disputed, something that has been researched. So an example of a logos appeal that we can copy in our My Notes column would be this guy. 1 out of every 4 drivers has an accident as a result of cell phone use. That cannot be disputed, that's factual, been researched. That's going to be an example of a logos appeal. The second type of appeal is the pathos appeal. And pathos tries to persuade folks based solely on their emotions. So they're going to try and convince you by making you feel a certain way. If you're riled up about a particular topic, maybe you'll be convinced to believe their statement. So an example of a pathos appeal in regards to the topic of cell phone use while driving could be this one. My son, Henry, died as a result of texting while driving. So this particular statement or appeal might convince folks who become maybe a little bit upset by this piece. Maybe they have a feeling of guilt. Oh my gosh, that could have been me. I was the person that texts and drives. I could have done that to that individual. So for example, yesterday's quick little documentary that we watched, a lot of pathos appeal there. And the third type of appeal is the ethos appeal. And the ethos appeal is when you're trying to convince someone based on trustworthy, credible evidence. You're presenting information that is research-backed. Now, the evidence itself, or the appeal itself, could be based on an individual that's credible, but it could also be information that is credible in itself. A lot of times, logos and ethos kind of collide with one another. So an example of an ethos appeal about cell phone use while driving could be this. As a police officer, Sergeant Duffy notes that most accidents are caused by distracted drivers. So this particular piece could be considered credible because the individual who is giving us this information is someone who deals with this topic on a possibly weekly basis. I'm a traffic officer. I see it all the time. I pull individuals all the time over to the side when I see them texting on their phone. So we've got, once again, the 3 types of appeals. The first, logos, you persuade based on facts. The second, pathos, you persuade based upon emotion. And the third, ethos, you're trying to persuade them by giving them trustworthy, credible evidence. You can go ahead and cross off step 2. We're not going to touch that one. And we're going to move on to that little chunk of text that introduces us to the strategy of debate. Now, I'm not going to have us read the strategy of debate aloud, but I do want to have you highlight a couple of key pieces here. Debates, they're not necessarily formal. They can be informal, but it is an argumentation of an issue. So there is an issue at play. Someone feels strongly about one side, someone feels strongly about another. Now, debates themselves do have a specific order of events. Generally, one person presents an argument, the other side might counter it or refute it. And it's a back and forth play here. And debates generally have a time limit. So, for example, you folks saw one earlier this week when I presented the gun control issue that was given at the Democratic candidate debate. Those individuals had 30 seconds to talk about their side of the issue. And as a reminder, today what you're going to be doing is you're going to be taking part in an informal debate. I'm saying it's informal because we're having it today. We're not giving you a whole lot of time to prepare. You're not going to have time to do some major research for any of it. But we're just getting the ideas out there. And right below that, we've got step 3, which is telling us a little bit more about what we're going to be doing in terms of our debate. So, Jackie, could you read step 3 for us?
Read and respond to the following news article. First, associate any words you don't know that you think are important, and next one is telling whether you are for or against the legislation.
Okay, now the legislation that's going to appear on the next page, it is fictional, it's not true. You mark up the text as you need. So if you see something there that you want to highlight, by all means go for it, but I'm not having you look for anything in particular at this point. All right, this is representatives urging action on the media. In order to combat what he calls the dangerous increases in teens' harmful media habits, Representative Mark Jenkins has recently introduced legislation that would make it a crime for anyone under the age of 18 to engage with more than 2 hours of media a day on the weekdays and 3 hours a day on the weekends. I think every single one of you would be in trouble if this was a real deal. I could see that being a big problem. All right, now the bill defines media as television, radio, commercial magazines, non-school related internet, and any blogs or podcasts with advertising. Again, I think every one of you would be in trouble. I don't think you folks would be in a good place if this is real. Penalties for violation can range from forfeiture of driver's licenses, scary, and media counseling, to fines for parents or removal of media tools, TVs, computers, phones, taken away from you because of too much use. Monitoring systems will be set up in each congressional district through the offices of Homeland Security and the National Security Agency. Representative Jenkins could not be reached for comment because he was appearing on television. How biased. All right, now imagine if that was a real deal. Wow, that would be scary. Now, remember, this is a big point that is made in this fictional argument, non-school related media use. Okay, it's not saying anything against you cannot use media for education or for school purposes. They're talking about it as simply for entertainment. Okay? Now, I guess it's midway through, we have this 4th step. And right below it is the actual debate that we're going to be arguing here. So, Elise, could you actually read the debate statement for us?
So the government instead media uses for everyone under the age of 18 2 hours a day on weekends and 3 hours a day on weekdays and 3 hours a day on weekends.
Okay, do me a favor and either highlight the debate itself or circle it or box it in, just so you know what is it that we're arguing. Now, you don't know which side you're going to be defending in this debate. So what you've got to do is you've got to prepare for both sides. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop up on the screen examples of reasonings that you could use. I don't want you to copy them down. They are going to show up in blue, but it's just something to consider, and maybe you use it as a point to kind of spring from to gather another idea. So here's a possible reason to argue that, yes, the government should restrict media. Well, the reason one could be that too much media exposure can cause emotional distress to those that are under 18. Now, factual evidence, granted I don't have a computer in front of me to research it, but there's evidence out there that cyberbullying is on the rise. And that can be an absolute detriment to those that are unable to handle that kind of stressor. And that could lead to that emotional issue that could cause this person to pay the ultimate price. All right, now, a rationale or reason to prove no, the government shouldn't restrict. Here's my reasoning. The government shouldn't dictate this, parents should. What's my evidence behind that? Well, parents are responsible for their child, not the government. Not only that, the parent knows their child the best. They know what is right. The government doesn't sit at home with them every day. Parent does. The family members do. So it should be their job to take care of how much media they can participate with. Okay, now remember it's blue. If you copied it down, you're still responsible for coming up with your own reasons. So you're going to need to develop 2 reasons with evidence to support both sides of this issue. Because once again, you don't know which side you're going to be defending until a little bit later. All right, now I'm going to give you about 10 minutes to complete both charts. Again, prepare yourself to defend both sides because you're not sure which one you'll have. I would definitely suggest you talk it out with folks. I don't mind if you go to opposite sides of the room, you meet up somewhere else, but it's really a good idea to gather ideas and generate it so you can help each other out, especially if one of you is strong with one side and someone else is stronger with the other side. All right, folks, you've got 10 minutes to prep. Go for it.